This is the last opportunity I have to say thank you. And I'll say it again. Thank you so much for your participation in spreading the gospel and your diligence in that and sending money out all over to people just like me who are working in the kingdom. And we thank you so much. And personally, my family, we thank you. We thank you for the check that comes every month. And we thank you for the groceries and the fun we're to have with the kids and all those types of things that we do as a family. We thank you so much for your support in that. Couldn't do it without you. And it's churches just like you all over that are helping people like me. And so it's good to depend on the brethren for that. And it's such a great blessing. So we thank you. Thank you for all the kind words. Thank you for the meals. Like I said, the coffee bar, that was a nice treat. Miss Ivana had us over and she was cooking and it was great. And Stephen made some burgers and those were so good, and it was just good to spend time with them. So I want to thank them. I want to thank John and Jennifer for being grandparents for the weekend and all of that. And so we are truly blessed. I told Mr. Phil that we wanted to come and be an encouragement to you all, and I'm leaving here encouraged. I'll tell you that. And so I thank you so much for who you are and your work in the kingdom here in Texas. Matthew presents us a king of all kings, and we get to listen to him. And he first starts with an introduction, what we call in the Sermon on the Mount, and he shows us characteristics of people that are in his kingdom. And we see that they are transformed and that they are set apart to be salt and light to the world. They're to be seen and they're to be tasted. And then he pauses and he gives his statement of purpose. And so after the introduction, he gives a statement of purpose and he says things are going to change. And to the untrained eye, it's going to look like I've come to destroy everything. But that's not true. He's actually come to fulfill. He's come to fulfill the law and the prophets. And so there's a reason why we don't honor the Passover like the Jews did years ago. And there's a reason why we don't keep the Sabbath anymore. Because Jesus has come and we have rest in him right now today. This very day we have rest in him. And guess what? Tomorrow, if it comes, we will have rest in him then as well. But he does have a warning for those who think that they could skate out on the law of Moses. In this transition period, if you do not keep the law, it will not translate into obedience under the new kingdom. And so Jesus wants obedience now under the old law that will translate into obedience into the new kingdom, because they are one and the same. They are together. And he says, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribe and the Pharisee, you will not enter the kingdom. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If we were there on that day, we heard that, our jaws would have dropped, and we'd be looking at each other, and we would be saying, how in the world are we going to be more righteous than those people? Those are the Pharisees. They're the ones that have the garb, and they have the long things, and they have the phylacteries that are boxes of the word, like on their arm. They are the righteous ones. They know the law. That's their profession. How are we, poor farmers out in the country, how are we going to do anything about that? How are we going to become more righteous than them? And that's what Jesus talks about. That's what his Sermon on the Mount is all about. He's going to define how that happens. And he starts by describing some situations you might find yourself in and what the kingdom way is, or what's the standard of the kingdom when you interact with people, when someone upsets you, or when you have to use your words. You're going to use big words to sound more important than you are, or are you just going to say yes and no? And let the credibility come by doing what you say. He's defining the standards of the kingdom. And then he goes on to describe what a right relationship looks like with God, and how we need to have the right motivation, and how we need to have the right attitude when we approach him in prayer, and how we need to have the right respect when we interact with people and we go to judge, and we are merciful judges, and we have the right relationship with our fellow man. That's the kingdom way. So he's defined the kingdom standards, the citizens, the standards, the relationships, And tonight, he's going to show us what the walk in the kingdom is like. Start reading with me in chapter 7, verse 7. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and the one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks it will be opened. Or which one of you, if he asks his son, ask him for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will give him a serpent? If you then, who are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good things to those who ask him? The first thing that we see that Jesus shows us is that this walk in the kingdom is a humble walk. The walk in the kingdom is a humble walk. It is not for those who deserve the kingdom. It is for those who desire the kingdom. And so it's for those who seek after the kingdom. It's those who are knocking on the door of the kingdom that it's opened. It's for those who are asking about it. Seeking and asking and knocking. Those are the types of people that come into the kingdom. It is a humble walk. We're so poor. Remember where we started? We're so poor, we have to ask to come into the kingdom because we can't pay our way into the kingdom. It has to be open for us. That's who we are. So we're not a deserving. We didn't do anything. We didn't have the merit in order to be in the kingdom. God gave it to us as a gift. It's like a father giving his child a gift, some food. And we know what that's about. I know all my sins. I know them. I know the wicked person that I have been. I know the person that I can be. I know that I am evil and I don't deserve the kingdom. But guess what? If one of my children asks me for a piece of bread, I'm gladly going to give them the bread. I know I'm an evil person. Can you imagine the Heavenly Father who is up there when we ask him for something and how he wants to give it to us? He does. Jesus is telling us he does. And it's not because of anything that we've done. It's just that we desire. The kingdom is not for those who've earned anything or deserve it. It's to those who desire it. And so it is a humble walk. It is a humble walk. You ever thought to why we would seek after the kingdom? I want you to think about that. Why would we knock after the kingdom or seek after the kingdom? It's because the man who is speaking about this is going to give his life for those. That's why we would seek after it. That's why we would knock. That's why we would ask for it, because the one who told us to come after it gave his life for us, shed his blood for us. We sang, "Take me to Gethsemane. Take me there so I don't get too high on the horse, that I have a humble walk as a Christian, a citizen in his kingdom. I don't want to forget where Jesus went for me, because that's not walking the kingdom way." Let's keep reading. Verse 12. "So whatever you wish that others would do to you, do also to them, for this is the law and the prophets." We call this the golden rule. Treat people how you want to be treated. It is a merciful walk. It takes mercy to walk in the way that Jesus is saying, to treat others how you want to be treated. Think about all the times that I've made mistakes and that I've asked for forgiveness or I've wanted forgiveness from someone. Can you imagine if I was not willing to give forgiveness to someone? Can you imagine what kind of hypocrite I would be when I desire the forgiveness because I make mistakes? It's merciful to consider the feelings of other people. Stopping in your own busy life and consider others first to make them more important than yourself. Can you imagine? But that's what Jesus is saying. This walk in the kingdom is a merciful walk. Count others more important than yourself. That's Jesus' specialty. That's what he did. He put on flesh and he came to this earth to be a servant, rejected. And if we're going to follow in his footsteps, it's going to be a merciful walk. We want that forgiveness when we make a mistake. We need to be willing to see others in the same way we see ourselves. That's the right way to walk in the kingdom. Verse 13. Enter by a narrow gate, for the gate is wide, and the way is easy that leads to destruction, and those who enter it are many. For the gate is narrow, and the way is hard that leads to life. Those who find it are few. This walk in the kingdom is a narrow walk. It's a narrow walk. There are things that we must give up in this life. We've all heard the expression, trim the fat. There's a lot of things that will entangle us. That's what the Hebrew writer is saying when he comes to his climax in chapter 12. Throw off all the things that are entangling you and run to Jesus Christ, the author and perfecter of our faith. That's what he's asking us to do. Throw it off, trim the fat, get rid of everything that's going to slow you down. It is a narrow walk. This kingdom walk is a narrow walk. And so there's going to be things that are easy, but they lead to destruction. Wide is that path. I have all the room. Coming to Texas, you got some wide roads, man. You got wide roads. In the neighborhood we're driving through, there's 4 lanes in one neighborhood road, and it feels so good. There's all this room. It's not like that in Boston. But that's the easy way. Not saying you got it easy driving here in Texas. It's a nightmare. It's intimidating. But you see what I mean? The cushy, easy way, that's not for us. It's the hard thing. It's that looking at self in the mirror. It's that I need to treat this person how I want to be treated. I made someone angry, or I got angry at someone and I need to go talk to them. I'm talking about the stuff that makes your tummy sick. You know that feeling when you have to have that conversation with someone? I know what you guys are saying. You know what I'm talking about. That pit in your stomach, and you don't want to have that conversation, but you got to do the hard thing. That's the narrow way. That's the right way. That's the kingdom way. Take care of those things. That's how Jesus is telling us that we need to walk in the kingdom of heaven. It's a hard walk. There's no doubt about it. Because if we just do whatever we want and we have our fun here, that way doesn't lead to life. It doesn't. It doesn't lead to life, and we know where that ends. Verse 15, beware of the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will recognize them by their fruits. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? So every healthy tree bears good fruit, but the diseased tree bears bad fruit. A healthy tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a diseased tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus you will recognize them by their fruits. The walk in the kingdom is a discerning walk. We need to be familiar with the truth, the Word of God. We're going to have to spend time in it to understand what is good, what is true, and what is right. Because there are going to be people out there that look right. They have a disguise on, but you can't be fooled by the disguise. You can't be fooled by them because they'll take you off the way. They'll take you away into the wide way. They'll take you out of the narrow way into the wide way. And so we need to be a discerning people. It is a discerning walk that we have. We need to be on the lookout. False teachers look right. Don't fall for their disguise. We will know them by their fruit. The fruit is how we need to distinguish what is right and what is wrong. And so we need to be a discerning people. We need to be a protective people. We need to be on the lookout. It's a discerning walk that we have in the kingdom. Verse 21, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. On that day, many will say to me, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name and cast out demons in your name and do mighty works in your name? Then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness. It's an obedient walk. And what kind of obedience is that? Is it the obedience that kind of aligns with my will, that I like to do things so I'm seen by others and I get the pat on the back? Or is a love and obedience that is motivated by God's love for me and how He sees people and how I want to see people like God sees people? Is that the reason I'm obedient to Him? Is it because I'm motivated by my love for God and what He's done for me? He's shed His blood for me. Or do I care about how other people see me? It doesn't seem like there should be such a thin line between those two, but there is, and we have to be very, very careful. It's an obedient walk. And you could see how this could go. These people, they thought they were doing the right thing, but they loved themselves. And they loved doing the things for themselves and how it made them look. It reminds me of what Paul is saying to the Corinthians. He's correcting their vision with the spiritual gifts. It seems like they love speaking in tongues. That was the cool gift. You could go into somewhere, you could speak this different language, and you were the cool one. And Paul's like, that's great, but I really want you to build up the church. And I really want you to speak 5 words that are intelligent, so that church might be built up than 1,000 words in a tongue, because no one can understand what you're saying. It might look cool, but it's not building up the church. And that's where the love passage comes in. We know this love passage, but it's a very strong rebuke. We call it the love passage, but it's really not the focus of it. It's the spiritual gifts. They had their eye on the wrong ball. And so are we doing these things to be seen by others? If we are, we're going to be left with nothing. And that's what Paul's saying to them in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the love passage. If you don't have love, you don't have anything. You might be speaking in a tongue, but you don't have love. You sound annoying. And when those spiritual gifts go away and you don't have love, you're going to be left with nothing. And that's what these people are left with. Oh, Lord, 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 Master, Teacher, we did all these things in your name. They are left with nothing because they are motivated by self-love and not love for God. It is an obedient walk that comes from the heart. So far, we have seen that the walk in this kingdom is a humble walk, a merciful walk, a narrow walk, a discerning walk, an obedient walk. Read with me in verse 24. Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain fell and the floods came and the winds blew and beat on that house. But it did not fall because it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who builds his house on the sand. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat on that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. It's a grounded walk. A walk in the kingdom is a grounded walk. I want you to think about what it takes to build a firm foundation. It's going to take a lot more time, and it's going to take a lot more money. You have to dig it out and find that bedrock to lay your concrete on there. It's going to take a lot more. Any of you guys have built a house, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You might get a couple of different, I'm forgetting the word, estimates from a couple different companies about how they could do the job. You say, hey, this looks really good. $50,000 less. Why is that? What's happening? And it only takes a couple months instead of 8 months to complete this house. What's going on with this? That's the easy way. It's building on the sand. It's not grounded. And if we do that with our faith, if we do that with our walk, it's going to lead to destruction. It's not going to stand in the judgment. But if we build a life on Jesus Christ, His teachings, His way, His mercy, His love, if we do that, it is a grounded walk, and our house will stand the judgment, because He will be there on that day to say, this one's mine. He built his life on my teaching. He lived a life for me. He's mine. This is a grounded walk that we have in the kingdom. In verse 28, the crowd hears these things, and they were astonished at his teachings. Can you imagine being there, hearing these things for the first time? Remember where we started? Poor in spirit, mourning, cutting off your eye, or cutting out your eye, cutting off your arm. What a hard thing to hear. But again, the one that's speaking is the one that's going to go to the cross. He's the reason why we choose to seek after the kingdom, because we could have forgiveness in his name. He gave his life for us. And the last point that I'll make this evening is found in the first 3 verses of chapter 8. Read with me. When he came down from the mountain, great crowds followed him, and behold, a leper came to him and knelt before him, saying, Lord, if you will, you can make me clean. And Jesus stretched out his hand and touched him, saying, I will, be clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. This man is an example of what it is to be a kingdom citizen. This man had a need for Jesus Christ. And as you go through the gospel of Matthew and John, Mark, you're going to see 2 types of people. There will be people that have no need for Jesus, and there are going to be people that absolutely are desperate and in need of Jesus Christ. We need to walk like we need Jesus. We have to need him. We are the leper. Remember I said it's a mirror, right? We're reading that. That's me. I am the leper. I'm the one that has cast myself out. I have no relationships. I have nothing. I am dying. That's me. And I come seeking after Jesus. And I'm saying, if you could do it, clean me. Make me clean. So I could go be with my family. He was an outcast. Some people, and I know about The Chosen, and some people might like it, some people might not. I've heard people that say, it's in my mind and I don't want to see it on TV because I don't want those images replacing what I've read all my life and all that. I can understand that. And I've seen a couple of things that the first part of the first one, you see Matthew, he has his choice of shoes. You never think of Matthew, but he was rich, and yeah, he had different pairs of shoes he could choose from, and those little things are very interesting. And I saw one other time, the kids were watching, I walked in, and I saw the leper, and maybe it's not this point in time, but it's a leper that comes to Jesus. And the disciples around him are like, whoa, you stay right there, whoa. And that's exactly how we would be. I can remember when COVID was coming out and we were walking on a trail outside, and I was looking at that guy like, man, I wonder if he's got COVID. We were walking like this and we were both thinking the same thing. I was like, is he going to give me COVID or who's going to do it? But that's how we are. And those disciples, they couldn't see it. They only know this realm. They don't know the heavenly realm. And Jesus says, let him come. And he puts his hand on that leper. That's a very powerful thing. Because that man had a need for Jesus Christ. That's who we need to be. And I'll tell you right now, that person, that leper right there in chapter 8, he is the kingdom citizen. He is the one that needs Jesus. He is the one that has all those characteristics. He knows now how to show mercy to other people because he has received it. He knows how to have a relationship with God and honor him with his lips because he has lived it. He's been saved. He's been resurrected. That man is the kingdom citizen, and that's us. We're the leper. Let's walk like we need Jesus, and he will not let us down. He will not let us down. When we are facing the grave, we don't have to be scared because the people that put our trust in him do not die. They don't. They don't die. He's been raised from the dead. He's conquered death. They don't. die. Brethren, thank you for attention this weekend and this Lord's Day. Let's do our best to be humble people, to be merciful people, to walk a narrow way, to walk like we need Jesus Christ. He will not let us down. If you need to make your life right with the Lord tonight, come to the back as we stand and as we